Hello, friends and beautiful people. Today we're going to talk about off-grid water. And today you get to see me using my arm because my little camera holder thingy lost its nuts. So I'm going to start out at the pump house, if you will. And let me show you how this works. Remember, this is an Amish farm, formerly Amish. And this is what we're using. All right. So we have this powered by this. So what happens is, and this is actually the well pump. This is where we are getting water out of the well. And there's the power. So every few days we turn this on, and it's got an automatic shut off so that we don't put too much pressure in. But it powers up the pressure with this air hose into the farmhouse. So what happens is it gets it up to however many pounds of pressure, and I honestly forget what that number is. And then it'll stop, or we can turn it off. And it's all just this guy. And we've already had to work on this. So then the air comes through there and pumps up this former propane tank with air. Now, it gets so much air in it that Hubs can actually use this for an air compressor out in his shop, and I use it in my shop. So right now, we are at almost 70 pounds of pressure, which I assume is good. Now this goes, at this point, underground up to the pressure tank in the basement. It's at this point in today's story that I need to tell you a little bit about Amish and plumbing. Amish only put one shutoff in their plumbing systems, and that's just going into the house. And that's 95% of them. And so that's what we had here. Now, unfortunately, we still don't have the overhead lights in here in the basement, but you'll get a feel for it. So this is the hot water heater where you put the wood. So basically, you start a fire in here every couple days, and it heats up the water in this hot water tank. And see how there's, there you go. See how there's pipes that go up? That goes to a second hot water tank that's in the upstairs. Again, important to the story that there's one shutoff valve in the entire house. And so what you do here is you monitor the temperature. And in the winter, this is something we'll have to keep an eye on because I'll show you something else in a minute. All right, so here is the second hot water tank. This one's brand new. Notice it has shutoff valves. That's because this is what's left of the old hot water tank. See how this one's wide and the other one was narrow? And then here is all of our leftover pieces and parts that we could not reuse. All right, so as you're looking at the closet here that's upstairs, you'll notice all the trim is gone. You'll notice somewhat, I don't know that you can see it really well, that the wall is all gashed up because when they put the old hot water tank in, they literally wedged it in, I'm sure, with oil and butter, like a woman trying to get into a spandex swimsuit that's 10 sizes too small. And these, they were just laying on there. Yep, found that out the hard way too. So, long and the short of it, what happened was the old one took a crap. And Hubs had just finished the wiring in the basement. Bless his heart. He had just finished putting in the notice all the light. That's one of those Miller lights. Get it, Miller light? If you don't have one of those in your life, you need one for power outages. Anyway, he was taking all of his tools over to the quilt shop to put in the overhead lights. So he's loading up all of his electrical equipment, and he came back over to get the last load, and there was water pouring into the basement. And long story short, we had to pull out the hot water tank, put in a new hot water tank, and we were without water for 5 days. We had to shut all the water off to the whole house just so we could replace the hot water tank. Now, it's quite an efficient system. And this is part of why it took a little longer to do, and part of it was because he didn't have the proper tools. He couldn't find his toolbox. So I went out and found him the day that he was getting a little fussy. And then there's a new kind of flux out there that he tried, and it didn't work. And what it did was it made it a nightmare when he tried to switch back to the other flux. And he's not real happy with how his soldering looks, because he's a perfectionist, and because he had to do it over and over and over so many times, it was just awful. So what happens is when that hot water tank is burning a fire downstairs and getting warm, it will warm up the water up here as well. And this is another one we have to keep an eye on. It's got a gauge, obviously, like right there. You have to keep an eye on that temperature, because if that one gets too high, then you need to use some hot water. But where the English have like the clean out or whatever, Amish has to be modified so that the fire part of it can go in. I'm not, because I kind of suck at it. I'm not a plumber. But here's what's cool is in the winter when I'm using, look who is in the house. She's here. She's waiting for the propane to be hooked up. When I am using this wood burner, the back of it, as I'm getting ready to hang some curtains, is also hooked into the hot water. And that's what those shutoffs are. I can turn that on or off. But basically, as I'm cooking or using this to heat the house, I'm also heating the hot water for the house. And I won't have to make fires in the basement in the winter. And then what you do is the water will actually, the hot water goes up when you turn water on, and then it'll cycle through. Hot water will push its way to the top. That's what comes out through the spigots, and you have your hot water. So that's how it works. Again, we have taken out, we've put in more shutoffs, and we'll continue to do so that we don't have to shut all the water off to the house just to make a repair. There's no shutoffs in the kitchens. There's no shutoffs in the bathroom or in the washroom, because we don't have our hand sink in the bathroom. Amish don't do that. And in the kitchen, I'll just show you over here, because there's no shame in my game. See, we don't do, there. We have a cold water and hot water. In a kitchen area, they are not allowed to let those waters mix. They can in a hand sink, but not in the kitchen, and no one knows why. No one. So it's kind of creepy funny. But anyway, that's how our hot water works. We are now pretty much fixed, but I wanted to do the video before he's supposed to put everything back together today. Yesterday, instead of putting it back together, he made Mama happy. I'm so close to being able to have my stove. He power washed my propane tank, and he's gonna paint it today and set it. He's got, you can't see it from here because of this lovely maple tree, but he Ooh, he's getting ready to move it. Uh-oh, where's it going? He's gonna paint it and get it set on the concrete pad that he poured for it. And then we're calling to get estimates. He's got a rototrencher, and he's already, I think, got the pipe, and he's gonna be good to go. So that's the farm update for right now, and that's why I wasn't able to post anything last week. It was just an ugly place to be. We were lucky. We have the bunkhouse and the quilt shop, so we were able to go out there and get water. But we had, in that bathroom downstairs, well, both bathrooms, we had a tote full of water sitting in the floor to flush. And it's just something you need to think about. What happens if you have to replace your hot water tank and you're two old people and you have to go up this flight of stairs? All right, friends, enough of my warped sense of humor for now. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing. And I can't wait for you to see what I'm going to show you next.